It has a profound negative effect if we keep going down that road, because it's not just I made a mistake. It's now an identity statement. It's now I don't have worth. I don't have value. And that might sound like a big departure from, oh, I'm so stupid. But no, that's what happens, because our words create ideas. Our ideas create our beliefs, and our beliefs are where we live from.
Please just hold your breath. Every door looks better when you keep it closed. Keep your head down and don't watch your step. No point in even trying now, just let it go. Maybe they will write the same for me. Maybe this was really just a dream. Don't wanna take that risk and try to see. A 9 to 5 will bring security, I'm sure, but I can guarantee you that's no way to live. Way to live. Promise that's no way to live. Way to live.
Hi, friends.
Hi.
Welcome back to another episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod. I'm Denise Acosta.
And I'm Brooke Ackerman.
And we are thrilled to be back. We actually haven't recorded in a few weeks. You don't know that because you see episodes every week.
But now you know.
But now you know.
And knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe.
Mm-hmm. I was in Peru for not a missions trip, but we went to go see one of our ministry partners. And it's been, 3 weeks?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Way too long.
Yeah. We are excited to be back. And we're kicking off with a new series. I have asked Brooke to put together a list of themes that she's noticed based on her sessions with clients and friends. The bigger things that many of us are tackling or trying to work through, more of the common themes. And today we're going to start with the first one, and that is the power of self-talk.
Honestly, this is one of my favorite topics because it has been transformational just for my life, let alone anybody else that I talk to.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about this one.
Good. I'm excited too.
Yeah. I know that for some people, the idea of self-talk is like, well, it's not that big a deal. How I talk to myself, the things I say to myself, is not that bad. I know that I might not say it to somebody else, but it's okay if I say it to myself. And wow, I definitely bought into that at one time. But it really does make a bigger difference than we realize, and it does have an effect. And we think it's okay if I do it to me as long as I'm not doing it to somebody else. But we can't give what we don't have. Mm-hmm. And so if we're treating ourselves unkindly, then as much as we are trying to be kind to others, we only have so much capacity because of the way that we are treating ourselves. And I think that's the biggest part that people don't realize, is that it is a big deal that you talk to yourself that way. It does have an effect when you talk to yourself that way. And so self-talk is really just how you think about yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you talk about yourself. For example, I used to so often, way more often than I like to think about now, because it has definitely changed. But when I would make a mistake, drop something, forget something, I mean, little things, nothing major, nothing that was going to change the course of my life or anyone's day or anything, but I would forget something, drop something, make whatever my mistake was, and I would say, I'm so stupid. And again, that might sound like, well, that's not that big a deal, that's not that terrible, but what I'm doing is telling myself that I am stupid. And if you think about it, I would not say that to you. I would not say that You're welcome. I would not say that to my husband. I would not talk that way to anyone that I care for. And shouldn't I be somebody that I care for? That was one of the biggest light bulb moments for me when it comes to self-talk. Is it feels like it's fine as long as I'm not doing it to anyone else. But it has way more of an effect on our own hearts than I think we really are aware of at first. Until somebody, God or a friend or somebody, brings it to our awareness. And then it makes a huge difference to shift that.
I agree. There's something about us that just internalizes what we're saying. I hadn't considered it the way that you said it, though. So I've heard you can't pour from an empty cup. We already went through that episode. But that you can't essentially, like, you're limited on the love that you can pour on someone or kind words if all we're doing is having negative self-talk to ourselves. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
I hadn't considered it that way.
Yeah. When I first heard that phrase, you can't give what you don't have, that was a very convicting moment for me because of this and there are other things that I have struggled with and had to dig through with God, but this one especially, because again, I thought it's fine because I'm not doing it to anybody else. I'm just doing it to me. And just that right there, saying that to there's been some significant healing in that, but just saying that right now, it feels painful that that's how little I thought of myself. And we're not getting into humility and arrogance and confidence because we've done that. If you want to talk about that, go back and listen to a previous episode, but that's not humility. It's not kind. And at the very least, we should choose to be kind to ourselves and take care of our own hearts well, because we can't give what we don't have.
So I don't want to jump too much into the episode because we're going to be diving into this a lot more. But while I'm hearing this for the first time and the gears are going, I'm thinking if we're trying to work on doing better at this and our self-talk, would it be helpful to practice with how you talk to others?
Absolutely.
If you're not used to being kind to yourself, you can practice being extra kinder in a different way to somebody else to encourage them, and maybe write some of those notes down.
Are you meaning be kind to them and then apply that to you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you would use those words that you're saying as, okay, let's try to talk to ourselves that way.
Yes.
Let's try next time something happens or whatever.
Yeah.
I like it.
Choosing to be kind to yourself it's so key, and it's nowhere near as difficult as it first seems. It does take conscious effort though, and it does take practice. Every once in a while, something happens and that I'm so stupid, or I'll say, I don't know what's wrong with me. That one comes up a lot too. And thankfully I have somebody in my life, John. Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Who will say to me in those moments, nothing. There's nothing wrong with you. Or he'll even say things, it's okay that you forgot whatever you forgot because you had these 3 other things on your mind. It helps that somebody else can put it into perspective and help you sort of zoom out from where you are and you're in the chaos of the moment or the emotions of forgetting the thing or making the mistake. But if you don't have somebody who is doing that for you, God will do that for you because he's really the one who first got my attention on all of this.
Because I am who I am, I was thinking, what if we get John to make like a Spotify playlist and he's got these encouraging things that he says and we can all just play it in those moments that we need it.
You heard it, John. Get moving on that playlist.
It's okay that you forgot that. Oh, yay. Can you imagine? Sorry, okay.
Instead of what would Jesus do, what would John say?
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's what we should call it. Okay. All right.
I love it. And now back from our commercial break.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned one of your phrases was, I'm so stupid, or I'm stupid. And I was at a girlfriend's house recently. And if you're listening, I love you and we need to work on this, which we've already talked about. But
well, good. I'm glad this is not the first time that your friend might be hearing about this.
No.
Not that you would do that.
But so I get there early. We're having like a girls' night, making some dinner and having some wine. And so I'm helping with dinner. And I don't remember what happened. I think something spilled, something very minor. And so she's like, oh, I'm so stupid. And I was like, hey, why are we talking to ourselves like that? And to hear somebody that you love and care about, and I don't think she's stupid. I think she's super smart. I think she's super kind. I think she's funny, very considerate. So many things. Stupid is not something I would ever put to describe her. And we can always sit there and say, well, I don't really mean it that way. Well, yeah, we kind of do, because there's somewhere that stemmed from. I'm better at my self-talk now than I was before. I don't know that I can really pinpoint how or when that shift started, but at some point I did recognize that it was unhealthy. And if God doesn't talk to me like that, why would I talk to myself like that? And that took a lot of years to get to that, to even consider working on that. But my phrase, and it still comes out sometimes, and now it is, if it does come out, it is more of a joke. But before it really wasn't. And I would spiral and I would just be like, oh, what's wrong with me? if I'm, I don't know, messing something up in some way, I'd be like, oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I like this? Why am I like this is the big one. And it would be for, I'm late to something and then I didn't even have everything that I needed. I'm just a spaz, right? And be like, oh my gosh, like, why am I like this? And then it's like, oh, ha ha. But if you give me enough time to keep thinking by myself, I would definitely spiral. I'd be like, what is wrong with me? Oh, actually, I do know. And then I'll start pinpointing different things for where that came from. And then I take it even further. And the next thing you know, I'm just in this really dark, heavy space of what am I even doing here? I shouldn't even have the friends that I have. It gets really, really dark. And yeah, you guys, there's real lasting effects to the things that we say to ourselves. And if we ever want to have a shot at experiencing true freedom, we should really consider how we're talking to ourselves.
I'm really glad you share that, because that is such a good example of how we can say to ourselves, oh, it's not that big a deal. It doesn't really matter. But it does.
It does.
It has a profound negative effect if we keep going down that road, because it's not just, I made a mistake. It's now an identity statement. It's now, I don't have worth. I don't have value. And that might sound like a big departure from, oh, I'm so stupid. But no, that's what happens, because our words create ideas. Our ideas create our beliefs, and our beliefs are where we live from. And so if you tell yourself, what's wrong with me, or I'm so stupid enough times, you begin to believe it. And that's how you start to live. And that has such negative effects.
It does. If those end up being your core beliefs, it's going to affect what you think you can do, even as a job, even positions that you're holding, your capability of helping to some degree, or just doing any task. You're going to, before you know it, you've super limited yourself from achieving things that were meant for you, that you actually are very capable of. But for whatever reason, we are choosing to talk to ourselves that way.
Yes. And that's a key thing too, is that it is a choice. It's not inevitable. It's not, well, this is just the way that I am. This is just the way that I've always been. It's how you have been up to this point, and now you have new awareness. And so now you can choose something different. And that's really when you said, this is not how God would talk to us. And if we have a relationship with Jesus, then to be a Christian means to be a little Christ, to be a follower of Christ. And so if we're following him and wanting to be like him and do what he did, he said in scripture, I only say what I hear the Father say. I only do what I see the Father do. And so that should also apply to us if we're following his example. And so is God ever going to say to us, I don't care what we do. It could be the worst thing that we can imagine, whatever the worst thing is for you. God is never going to say to you, what's wrong with you? Or you're so stupid. And so if God's not going to say that, then as a follower of Christ, then we should not speak that way to ourselves either.
I want to add a little bit to that, because if you are not in a intimate relationship with God yet, you may actually feel that God does talk to you that way. And no, he doesn't. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that is not how God talks to us. And if that's how you're feeling, we'd love to have a conversation with you, but let us just confirm that is not God. That is something else. That is just maybe what you've heard growing up, maybe examples that you've seen in life, but that is not God.
Yeah, for sure. He will convict us. That's the Holy Spirit convicts us all the time, but it's always gentle. It's always kind. It's never an identity statement. It's not what's wrong with you. It's, hey, let's talk about the words you used in that conversation with a friend. It's never condemning. It can be convicting for sure, which the idea is then to draw us closer to him, because condemnation makes us want to run and hide. And that's never, he doesn't want us to run and hide. So he's not ever going to speak to us that way. And that's really, God's the one who got my attention on this a long time ago. It's one of those moments where I said some negative phrase to myself, and it was almost like as clear as a conversation that we're having. Not an audible voice, but it was very clear conviction and still very kind. But he said, would you talk to one of your friends that way? And I was like, of course not, Lord. And he said, would you talk to John that way? Absolutely not. Then why are you talking to yourself that way? And then here's the kicker. I will never forget how this felt. And he still every once in a while has to bring this back up to me. But he said, I don't let anyone talk to my kids that way, not even you. So in other words, I don't get to talk to me that way because it's not just me talking to me. I'm talking to one of God's creations. I'm talking to one of God's children. Mm-hmm. And no, he will not stand for that. Tears, but it was great. It was really good. Yeah. And that was the moment that things started to shift. And it wasn't, boom, I'm done speaking negatively to myself. I would catch negative things and I would choose something different. I would make a slight shift and rephrase. Instead of I'm so stupid, it was okay, so I forgot that thing that I need today. I forgot it at home. How can I figure this out? How can I solve this problem? How can I continue on with what I need to do today? Stay curious, be kind to yourself. Yeah, I could go on and on.
Oh my gosh. And we will. Because that's what this episode's about anyway.
So we've shared some of the phrases and the ones that definitely apply to us, but to really make sure that we are understanding the effect, because again, I feel like that's the part that we misunderstand. We think, oh, it's just something I say to myself. It's not a big deal. No, it is. It is a big deal. So as kindly and gently as possible, stop talking to yourself terribly. So for example, when I would say to myself, I'm stupid, what I'm doing is, even if I was saying to myself, I don't actually believe, and I would say that, I don't actually believe I'm stupid. It's just something that I say. No, because the more you say it, the repetition of those words to yourself about yourself, it really then starts to develop a belief. And it's not even a belief that you are necessarily conscious of or entirely aware of. And even after the shift, I would catch myself, the phrase would just come out of my mouth, even though it was no longer a belief, it was still trying to come out. And so even catching it after a good shift of, no, I don't actually believe this about myself, you still need to change the phrase, change the words, because again, the words create our thoughts and our thoughts create our beliefs. And so whatever you are saying to yourself or about yourself, even if you try to brush it off with, well, I don't really think that. Well, you do, or you wouldn't be saying it. Mm-hmm. And when you think it and say it, then it becomes belief, and then it's just off and running for however long until you decide to make a shift again.
One thing I was thinking too is with repetition and how often that we say things. Did you ever experience after a week, we'll say, you'll have a week and it's like, man, I said that a lot this week that I'm stupid, right? And that can go two ways. That's a gift. We're recognizing mm-hmm. how often we're saying it. So we can either be like, oh man, we should work on that. Or it might be like, dang, maybe I really am then, because it's happened so many times. So yeah,
like a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's important. What's one of the ones I had? The what's wrong with me? Same thing there, you guys, because the more we say it, it's going to feel like a truth, whether we mm-hmm. say it out loud or not. It's going to feel like it, and that's just going to end up attaching to our identity. So what's wrong with me? Turning a mistake into a judgment on identity, messing things up. The one for me comes a lot is being late, because a lot of things would come with that afterwards. Just like a spaz at that moment. What's wrong with me? I'm getting everything wrong. I'm not making sense. I'm just not prepared. Similar to the why am I like this? It's often rooted in shame. It frames our whole self as the problem instead of inviting curiosity about our feelings or choices. And yes, it does, because why am I like this? It's definitely a negative thing, like something that we shouldn't be. And if we shouldn't be, like I said about the spiral earlier, you'll spiral. If you're anything like me, you give somebody like me enough time to think by themselves, we're going to some dark places. You had another one.
Yes, another one. I don't say this one as much to myself, but I am aware of when other people say it. Some version of, man, I'm just really not myself today. And I understand that feeling. I understand the things aren't going the way they normally do, or this is not going as smoothly as it often does. Honestly, Denise and I had things aren't going the way we want them to today before we hit record, which we're not going to get into right now. But right before we hit record, we prayed, and we prayed specifically about the things that were just not going the way they quote unquote normally do today. Because if we let that linger, if we let that be the loudest voice, if we let that be the thing that we focus on, the same idea of I'm not myself today, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to continue to do things that don't feel like you. It's almost like a snowball that just keeps getting bigger and bigger as it rolls down the hill. It's going to continue to feel like things aren't going smoothly. Things aren't going my way today. Things are so out of order. I'm not myself, because you're telling yourself you're not yourself. And so then you're going to be surprised when things don't go how you want them to. But you've just told yourself that that is your reality. And so things are going to follow suit. And so rather than saying something like, I'm not myself today, again, stay curious and go, what's happening right now that I'm attaching meaning to that doesn't need to be attached to it? How am I feeling about how this is going today? And so zoom out. Don't get so focused on the one thing. Widen your vision, invite God into it, and it makes such a difference.
If you've decided that you're just having a bad day,
yes,
you're going to find everything to validate that.
Yeah.
And you're just seeing it from one perspective at that point. And if you had zoomed out, it's probably just super even. You maybe have even just evened out with a lot of good things too, actually. Or maybe there was a ton more good than bad, but we can't see that because we've already decided that. And so that's all we're going to keep seeing, and then we're going to keep saying it. And so it just stronger and stronger. Yeah, it just ingrains in us.
Yeah. Yeah. What we choose to focus on then, not surprisingly, becomes the focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
but I also want to make sure we are not saying now live in the world of toxic positivity. Well, it's okay that somebody ripped off my bumper in traffic, because I can just choose to. No, listen, tough stuff happens, and it is frustrating to make mistakes and to forget things and to drop something in the middle of cooking a meal. It's frustrating, and acknowledge that. Wow, that was super frustrating, but don't let it then become an indictment on who you are as a person. That was really frustrating, that I dropped the pot of spaghetti sauce all over the floor before we even got to add the spaghetti to it. That's really annoying. So where are we going for dinner tonight? You know what I mean? Figure out how to solve the problem, how to change the situation, but it's not, and one really bothers me is, I guess God wanted me to learn, or God wanted me, no, God did not make you drop the spaghetti sauce. Feel your feelings, but
Yes,
then
we are a team. Feel your feelings here.
But then stay curious, zoom out, see what other ways there are to fix the situation, solve the problem, without making it an indictment or an identity statement that is negative, because we're all going to make mistakes. Things aren't going to go our way, but just be mindful of what are we doing with that, and not making it, and now I'm a horrible person because I've dropped the spaghetti sauce.
Sometimes cookies crumble.
They do. And you know what? The crumbs still taste good.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. I definitely want some now.
Oh my goodness.
I actually made cookies this week.
Did you?
Mom was very happy.
I guess you forgot to bring me one.
She ate them all.
Oh, good for her. What kind of cookies?
The DoubleTree chocolate chip. She's been asking for months.
All right. As long as it was her that ate them, I'm fine. But if you were like giving them out to somebody else and didn't bring me one, then we didn't know.
So we've mentioned a ton of behaviors. We want to be careful not to confuse those behaviors for identity.
So it not only can become an identity statement, we can embrace the negative, false things, the distorted views of ourselves, but we can also, it's not just a thought, it's not just a belief, but we can also have a physical reaction to it. Our bodies respond to it. Because if you think about how you feel and what happens internally to you when someone else says something negative to you, or when you are receiving criticism, and not the helpful kind, not the constructive criticism, but when it's really biting critique or harsh words from someone else, and you know what that feels like. You know the thoughts that start. And so if you talk to you that way, then you are doing that to yourself. And if you are able to tune in when somebody else says something negative to you, you'll notice heart rate rises. You might go into some form of fight or flight or freeze. And so when you talk to yourself this way, you are putting your own nervous system on high alert. And that then releases cortisol, and that has such negative effect. I mean, we are starting a process within ourselves that we would absolutely not want someone else to do to us. And so again, why are we willing to treat ourselves this way? And why are we willing to put ourselves through something that we would not want somebody else doing to us or saying about us?
God cares about us, you guys.
He does.
He created us with love and with purpose. Why are we talking to ourselves like that?
Which then also brings up the flip side of this is when we do pause to ask God, what do you say is true about me? Or if you are able to catch yourself and start shifting the thoughts and the words that you say to yourself about yourself, then it can have positive effects as well. And so this isn't just all the terrible things, but when we start to make those shifts and we can tune into what is actually true about us, then it doesn't just counteract the negative, but it's almost like when you plant something, it's not just taking up space, but it's something else begins to grow and it flourishes. And so what is true about you and your true identity and who God actually says you are, that is in there. And it's not just like a tiny little green shoot. It can turn into full blown, I don't know, whatever your favorite thing is, flowers, trees, garden, field. It has ripple effects in a positive way as well.
You know where else we can find some information on this? Do you remember that book I mentioned? The Bible, you guys.
The one that you should check out from the library?
Read your Bible. I'm not going to be tired of saying that. Read your Bible, you guys. You need that. You want that reinforcement. You don't know where to start. Guess what? Your Bible has some suggestions for you on how to go through that or work through that. I think for me initially, when I stopped talking to myself like that, I didn't have the whole process of asking God what he's saying. It was just more like, this is unhealthy and we want to be healthy. So let's try to stop. So I would just not say it out loud. So it's baby steps, right?
Absolutely.
It's baby steps.
It is absolutely a process.
So it was, I catch it and we just don't say it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you can say it internally, it's a process. And then there would be times where I would just pause and then I wouldn't let that thought complete. And then I would just try to be kinder to myself here and there. And then, later eventually came the whole, let's have conversations with God about what he has to say about me and my identity and who he says that I am. One way to start, if you're not on, I guess, that kind of an intimate level of relationship with God yet, is open your Bible. And there's a few here that I wanted to read that might be helpful. And there's plenty more, you guys. And maybe some of these will speak to you and maybe they won't. Maybe you need a different one. And so spend some time and find what God is speaking to you through the Bible. So one was Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. That sounds like what we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, power of self-talk. Romans 12:2, renewing the mind transforms us. A lot of what Brooke has been talking about right now is how we think is how we live. So if we can reframe how we've seen that situation or that moment or whatever, we have a greater chance of letting the Holy Spirit transform us into who we were meant to be, who God designed us to be. And then John 8:32, truth sets us free. Yes, it does, because we're imprisoned by these thoughts that we have, that negative self-talk where, we are this, so then we can't do that. Or however that ends up sounding to you in your communication with yourself. And finding out who you really are, what you really are capable of, which is a lot of things in positive ways to impact others, you're going to live better from that, out of that. Live in your truth, you guys.
And it absolutely is a process, and I'm really glad you mentioned that, because this is going to sound ridiculous, but this is an example from my own life, so it happens. But once God caught my attention, and I tried to start shifting things, and I was doing really well for a little bit, and then I would forget, or the old thought pattern would be stronger than the new thing, because it's a process. And so in this process of trying to be kinder to myself and change my self-talk, I would slip up and then I would heap more on. I'm trying to change the I'm so stupid, but I slipped up and forgot and did whatever, some old version. And so then I would say, oh my gosh, you're so stupid. Why can't you? I'm just keeping the cycle go. Be kind to yourself as you are learning to make these changes, because learning is a process. Learning brings mistakes, and mistakes are not failure. It's information. And so you take the new information and you make another shift and you try again, and you might make another mistake. And all that means is now I have new information. And then you try another shift and you do it again. And in that process go, oh, man, I'm really glad I caught that old thought coming back up. I'm really glad I caught that old phrase that I used to say all the time. And even that, I used to say this, not I always say this, because maybe that's in the past, but I used to say this to myself all the time, but now I'm choosing something different. And to actually replace the old phrases and the old thoughts with something new is incredibly helpful. And so instead of saying I'm such a failure or I'm so stupid, it's something like, yeah, I made a mistake there. So I'm going to take this new information and I'm going to learn from that and I'm going to grow. And so the next time I won't make the same mistake. And so actually giving yourself some healthier, more positive, and again, I'm not talking toxic positivity, but something that's actually healthy and true and real about you. Replace the old thought with this new thing, because that's also really helpful. It's not stop doing this bad thing. It's make a shift toward where you want to go, who you know God has designed you to be. And so don't heap condemnation on yourself. Be curious about the process that you're in and the thought processes that you have. And, I wonder why I used to think this about myself, that I'm so stupid, because now I'm starting to see myself as someone who is willing to try new things, and trying new things is uncomfortable and awkward sometimes. And that's okay, because that's just part of trying new things. It makes such a difference when we actually start to change our language toward ourselves.
We can't get better at something if we don't start, you guys. Our first attempt at anything is going to pale in comparison to the 100th time we've done something. You got to start somewhere. And you were saying about the information, and there's that temptation to look at it as failure. Don't. Just like a light switch, guys. Just stop it.
If only it were that easy.
Right? But if you're reframing it, you're using the information. When you're learning something new, you guys, the next step is, what am I going to do with this new information? It's not just, oh, that was nice. All right, well, let's apply it. Let's put it into practice. Back to God and our identity. I mentioned my process for this before. It didn't really start off with what did God have to say about me and what was actually true. It was more of me recognizing that it's unhealthy, and unhealthy in public is frowned upon. Let's start with not making people uncomfortable at the very least. And you're, I'm getting rid of that behavior, and outwardly you don't really notice it too much, but I'm maybe still doing it at home often to myself, right? I'm still talking like that still to myself. When you start connecting with God, that's that final piece of the puzzle that's going to change things. Because if you just stop something, you're not understanding where it came from or what's actually true. You're never really going to get out of that space. You've only just, I don't know, maybe put a delay in growth, if anything. You're certainly not growing. And the important piece of the puzzle here is what is actually true about us, and who better to tell us than the God of the universe who created us. Just an emphasis on how that piece of the process is just so vital. It's so vital, because otherwise we're only, I don't know if to say just numbing it.
When we're
only like halfway there.
Yes. And what we don't realize is we're still focused on the problem, because don't do this thing is still the thing. The negativity, the words, the whatever, it's still the focus. And so even though we're trying really hard, and that's great, it's good to be aware of it and start trying to shift things. But like you said, if we stop there, then that thing is still the focus. We need to be aware of it, try shifting, but then have a replacement of some sort, truth from God about who he really says we are. Because if not, then we're still keeping the thing that we don't want to have around anymore. We're still keeping it as the focus. And then what we focus on just starts to replicate itself and show up more and more in our lives.
It's kind of like, okay, so now what? Okay, I stopped, so now what? So I said earlier how one of my phrases was, what's wrong with me? And if we're starting to look into things, how to reframe that or how to change our outlook, staying curious, take that moment, the opportunity that we're given to recognize that we've said it, right? And we have the opportunity to do something about it, and we're choosing our reaction from there. But to think about it as what's going on in me. Is something different about this day? Am I feeling like I'm missing, or one of my core needs, we talked about this in another episode, one of those core needs are not being met. Yep. That's really where this is stemming from. And it has nothing to do with this one little thing that I messed up today. It's something else that's building up or festering in the background. Use those moments to be curious and take a self-check moment.
The great Polly Hamp.
Hi, Polly.
Hi, Polly. A phrase that she uses is, what does my heart need right now?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. That's a really good one. And if you don't have a relationship with God, you can just ask yourself that. What does my heart need right now? But because I have a relationship with God, I often ask him, what does my heart need from you right now? Because that's really, for me, what that is. I'm looking for connection or something from someone or something else when really it needs to come from him, ultimately.
I really like that.
Yeah, I know. She's great.
That's a good one, Polly.
Yeah, she knows what she's talking about.
Should trademark that one.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
What does my heart need right now?
Yeah.
I was also thinking earlier when we were talking about the different ways that we talk to ourselves and then it becomes beliefs. What's really happening is that we are making a judgment about ourselves. And then once we do that, again, that's one of those things that we think, well, it's fine if it's just me. But when we make a judgment, our heart can't function in any other way. And even if we don't mean to judge others, it happens because that's true. That's in there, and whatever's in there is going to come out in one way or another. And so even though we would think, oh, I would never judge others,
it becomes our framework for how we judge.
It does. The lens that you see through, it's how your heart is functioning. And so it's, even if you really, really don't want to, if you've done it to yourself, it is going to come out. And so we're going to end up judging others according to how we've judged ourselves. And we're not, none of that is healthy. None of that produces anything good.
And we want to produce good fruit, you guys.
Like black raspberries. That's really good fruit.
Black raspberries. Did you make that pie? You can make some pie. I'll make some cookies.
A little bake swap.
Mm-hmm. That was a good pie. Okay.
So we said, really, what's happening is we're judging ourselves. Really, we are perpetuating lies about ourselves when we say things like, I'm so stupid, what's wrong with me? Because again, God would never say these things to us or about us. And so if he wouldn't, if it's anything apart from God, it's not God. And so we don't want to partner with lies about ourselves, which then we said that it affects how we talk to or think of others. If you're not going to say this to a friend, why would I say this to myself? These are all things that just to start reframing, to start when you catch yourself say something negative towards yourself, just allow these new, I wouldn't say this to my friend, so I'm choosing to not say this to myself, and then replace it with a new thing. And the oh so clever Denise over here made up this little list to try to help us remember this process. And any pastor is going to just so greatly appreciate this. Mike Haynes, you for sure, I can hear you already go, oh, it's so cute. Because I don't know what it is about pastors, but they like alliteration. I know it's helpful to remember things.
It's helpful to remember.
Yes, but this is very alliterative. Are you ready? Here it comes. This is the lovely Denise Acosta creation. So, okay, I'm realizing I need to start making this shift. So the first thing is to catch it. Okay, so it's like, think for anybody who's not watching, you just missed Denise doing like she's catching a butterfly or something in the air. It was really great. So if you're just listening, you might want to find this spot in the video and watch Denise. But if you're aware of some of the negative phrases you say to yourself, write that down. Be aware of it in your language. If you're not aware of these phrases, ask someone who cares deeply about you. I guarantee they are aware of the negative things that you say about yourself. I hear it all the time when other people say things negatively about themselves. And it is, honestly, I feel pain. It's a painful sensation when I hear someone that I care about say terrible things about themselves. So I guarantee if you're not aware of them and you don't have that kind of relationship with God that you can ask him, ask someone who's in your corner and tell them that you need them to be kind, but they will be able to point out those phrases to you that you say about yourself. So first step is catch it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to do your...
Just like that, you guys. Just like that. That's how you're going to catch it.
Mm-hmm. And then after you catch it, you're going to challenge it. So in other words, ask, is this really a true statement about me? Is this true, or is this how I'm feeling right now? Is this how I'm seeing this situation in this particular moment? Again, this is not an indictment on who you are as a human being. There's a moment that things didn't go well. There's a moment where you made a mistake. And so once you catch it, you're going to challenge it and see, is this really true about me? And most of the time, if it's a negative statement, all of the time, it's not true about you. And then we've already said this last one, change it. So catch it, challenge it, change it. Find an authentic, healthy, true replacement thought. Because again, if we don't replace the negative or the old with something positive and new, then that, just the idea of I need to stop doing this, I need to stop saying it, it keeps the negative thing as the focus. And so again, find scripture, ask somebody who's in your corner, who loves you well, to give you something that they see is true about you. Honestly, it's going to be really beneficial if you think of something that is true about you. Because again, be kind to yourself. Ask God for something that's true about you. Again, man, such a screw up. No, I made a mistake and I'm learning and I'll do it differently next time. I know it might sound like, okay, whatever, that's not going to make that big a difference. Try it and you'll see. Try it. Just give it a try. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you know what? It's going to work.
It's 3 easy steps, you guys.
And what are those 3 easy steps again, Denise?
You want to catch it. You want to challenge it. And you definitely want to change it. It's not 2 out of 3, you guys. It's not 1 out of 3. We want 3 out of 3. We want victories.
Ooh. Now, Mike Haynes, you know that was cute.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
So you were talking about writing the few negative thoughts or asking a friend. I had a conversation recently in a group. We meet a lot, guys. I don't know which time. It doesn't matter. But we were in group. And it came about, what if we wrote down all the thoughts we had? And that's a big log, I know, for a day, and maybe start with half a day. But literally writing every thought down. The conversation came up with, how do you take your thoughts captive? Was writing them all down. And so look at that list that you have, and how many of those are statements you're making about yourself and in a negative way. And that's one way you can start evaluating where you're at, because we don't really think we're as bad as other people think we are in our self-talk. It's not that bad. And so we have something we can work off of, what we can start addressing or looking towards. If you don't have somebody that you can ask or want to ask, maybe you don't want to know that information. But yeah, it just reminded me of that. And I feel like that could be useful for this too.
Yeah, and writing things down like that, you might not realize how often you really do say those things about yourself. But when you have it in black and white, I mean, it's undeniable. And that can, while at first looking at, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said this many negative things about myself, it can be, again, you can choose the perspective. You can go, wow, I can't believe I said this many negative things about myself. But now that I'm aware, I can start making changes. And if that's the that you needed to get things moving in a positive direction, then it's totally worth it.
I like it. All good things, you guys. I mentioned earlier in this episode about how when you, or me specifically, when I would say something about myself, it would just come out. I didn't know I was saying, I didn't really mean it. And it was just something that I would say, and then I would start spiraling. It affects what you're going to do, whether you think you're capable of doing it or not. It does end up having an effect on that. One of the things that I've noticed about myself lately is, if I do end up saying something now, I try to make it a point to literally change it. If you've been around me long enough, you've heard the comments about I'm late to everything. I'm always late to things. And there's a good amount of people that I've spent time with in the last few years who would not agree with that statement because that's not their experience with me. Because we're joking about these things and I would say it and people want you to be on time. But I found that when I did say that, oh yeah, I'm just like that, it would trigger something in me. It started triggering something in me where it was just more like, well, it doesn't have to be that way. You know, I can change it. And so I found that even sometimes when I would say it out loud, it did end up working to my benefit, because I'd be like, well, I don't want to say that about me. I don't want that to be a thing about me. So if it really is a bad habit that I had about being late to things, well, I can change that. I don't have to be that anymore. The power of self-talk.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great story. I like it.
Yeah. I'm not always late anymore, you guys, for those listening that have known me for a long time.
You know what's funny? I've seen people, it's mostly on social media because I don't know your whole circle of friends, but I forget what it was that you posted something like, say something that's true, that was true about me. And so many people had said something about
my tardiness.
Yes. Yeah. And that's not how I've experienced you. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. That must have been something that used to be true.
Yeah.
But now no longer is, because that was not on the list of things that I could have responded with.
Oh, for sure, for everything.
Right. But I just think that's interesting that you said it is something that and you could very easily say, I'm always late to everything. Mm-hmm. But no, I used to often be late, and now make that shift in the language too.
Yeah. It helps, you guys. It's the power of self-talk. The power of love.
Oh,
Celine Dion.
Oh, I thought you were going to keep going.
Oh, no.
Dang it.
No. It's not karaoke episode.
Oh.
Should we have one?
I think we should. Although I'll let you do all the singing, because while the Lord has given me lots of gifts, singing is not one of the strongest.
Well, I don't know that it's a strong gift of mine, but I certainly enjoy it. I'll sing anyway.
Love it. If you haven't caught it yet in this episode, we really do think that self-talk makes a big difference, and that's to the negative and to the positive. And so just encouraging you again to tune in, be aware of your words to yourself and your thoughts about yourself. And when you catch it,
I was waiting for it.
Challenge it. Ask yourself, is this really true, or is this just a momentary thing? And then start to shift things, start to change things, whether that's your own words to yourself. Ask somebody that you love and trust to give you a replacement thought. Ask God. But your self-talk really does make more of a difference than you realize. And I really encourage you to start trying it. And I guarantee it. I will guarantee it. You will start to see a difference. You will start to feel benefits of it. The truth that you choose to speak to yourself is going to change your life tremendously. So just do it, guys.
The truth will set you free.
That's all we have for you in this episode. We're so glad you joined us for another episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod. Not sure how you found us today, but be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on any other episodes. And you can find us on most podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Amazon Music.
If anything we said today resonated or got you thinking deeper, share it with a friend, leave a comment, or shoot us an email over at prodigalpeas@gmail.com. If you didn't know, this podcast is a merge of both of our brands. I am Misfit of Creation, a soul food ministry. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube. I also have an Etsy shop where you can find downloadable tools that will help you grow in your walk with God. And that is misfitofcreation.etsy.com. And if you're looking to be a monthly supporter, you can also find me on Patreon.
My mental and emotional health coaching practice is Blueprint Heart and Mind Coaching, and you can find me at blueprintheartandmind.com, where I have a blog, and you can also make an appointment with me. And you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
I think I get it now. I need to be myself because a copycat can only do so well. In love with everything that makes me who I am. Don't need a backup plan. I hope they understand that I'm doing better today. I got me a mission that got some fruition. You down to stay out the way. Can't seek validation from people who hating. I got my mentality straight. Shout out to God, I've been keeping the first. He been working and paving the way. And now I can guarantee you that's the way to live. Way to live. Promise that's the way to live. Way to live. Promise that's the way to live.
We out, guys. Good talk. Good talk. We out.
Is that replacing bye?
No, we can't replace bye.
Oh, okay.